Okay, hi everyone. So, long time since I produced any video for you, and today I have a story about my current development project. It's not a big project; it's a small project. It's called the engagement meter, and the engagement meter is just trying to work on a problem that we teachers and you, the students, have gotten further away from each other. And I hear stuff from my colleagues like they're not, they feel that they're just talking out into the void, like maybe I'm just talking to my cam and I don't see you. So the idea would be to see the engagement of the students and to measure that somehow. And to do that, perhaps you just extract how many views you get on your YouTube videos. So that is sort of what I started with. The code is more or less a PHP project, so I'm pretty accustomed to PHP. And I have this YouTube stats thing that is collecting things from YouTube, and then I have a YouTube stat measurer that is communicating with the YouTube API. So YouTube provides an API, an application programming interface, so I can send stuff to YouTube and I just send stuff to this address with certain parameters amongst the YouTube address, and I get the number of views. So the interesting thing is not that I can get the views, but I can do stuff with this views. I can collect views from many different videos and stuff like that. And I mean, the actual project is not super interesting for you, but the sort of process that I'm using is probably, and the testing of it is probably more interesting. So let's start with like manual testing. And I mean, we have done a little bit of manual testing before. So I have a number of manual test cases, and this is the output of the application. It is supposed to be business to business application, so it's not going to be have a proper user interface. It's going to have an API of itself. So right now you can send it nothing, and it should say that, oh, either you must send me a video parameter or a video poll parameter. And if we send it a video parameter, and the value of the video parameter should be the name of a video. So this is some video, and we get, oh, it has 10 views. It's called Instruktionsgruppsmöte. But if I take this other video and enter that one, we get 232 views. This is the assignment 2. It was published, available to you at this time. This is a Unix timestamp. And if we look at the video, we can see that I'm having the same sweater on, and it has 232 views. So it seems that this is working. We could see that it also had a video poll, and this is going to be used to check on videos on different dates and see how the views are growing or not growing. So actually it's just supposed to give me that we have only one measurement and that poll is successful. If we do this again and again and we have more views, then the number of measurements will increase, but it will only increase if we have more views. We could, of course, send it some video that does not exist. I don't know if this exists. Probably should not exist. No video found with parameter. And I don't know if I have a test case for too long or missing. Yeah, no. So it's giving the same output for no video found. So pretty much that is the manual testing of this. Of course, I have automated unit tests for these also. So let's take a look at these. So for each class in my application, for instance, the API class, I have an API test, and these are pretty much the kind of unit tests you've seen, and I'll try to build them TDD wise. Actually, I tried to change my way of working with 2D in this project and try to make these more end-to-end tests as the interviews have said to us that. So you can see that this is testing the API, and then I have a fetcher class, and I have a fetcher test, and then I have a time series and a time series test and stuff like that. I also have stuff that is not yet developed. So I have a slack measurer that is not implemented. So I'm planning to look at how many people are not individuals, but how many total people are active in a Slack channel. So you can see that, oh, it's 30 people who have written something or reacted on some post or something like that. So I want that to be anonymous, but just a number, just an aggregation. So I'm planning to use the Slack API for that. And I'm also planning to use create a time series, so you can see that on yesterday we had so and so much views, or and today we have other things. And for the time series, we have a time series test. And I can run these, and I've created a bash file for this, but I'm just going to run the first one. So let's see if I can find so here we have, so let's run that, and I'm just using PHP unit, and I'm actually giving it a parameter for which test cases I'm going to run. So we're going to run the unit tests only. And now we run the unit test, and we can see that the Slack measure must be instanced. So we get an error, and you can see that we have one error here, and we also have another error here. So we actually have two different things that are not working. It is both related to the things that have not yet developed. So things are fine. In total, I had 22 tests run and 28 assertions in those, and I get 2 errors. And this was the Slack measure, and this was the part of the API that is working with Slack. So that should be fun. I can also run acceptance tests. So I've written a couple of acceptance tests, and these looks like this. So I have an acceptance class. It's just a test case. And this is actually using one of the classes, the fetcher class. And the fetcher is actually just doing a HTTP call to the server, to a server. And then it's sending different parameters. You recognize the things that I did in the manual testing. So pretty much I've created manual tests and then automated these by just writing them down as pulse to the server. So you can see I have the views of existing video, I have non-existing video, I have one poll successful, I have no argument, I have non-existing video poll, and should get Slack users in channel, which is not developed, not finished right now. So I can run these tests also, and in the tests I've created a number of different versions of the acceptance tests. So I have a local version, and I'm going to show you how I did that in a minute. So let's run the local version. And you can see that we get one error for this. Active users test should get Slack users in channel. So the Slack things does not work yet. Actually, I have also so we can see that the local here was a part of this. So acceptance test, all the acceptance test is in the same folder. But then I have 3 different versions of this one. So this one, the local test, inherits from acceptance test. So I don't know if you're into everyone. Yeah. I don't know if you're into inheritance and stuff like that and object-oriented programming. Probably you are. But if you inherit, you get everything that is in the acceptance test, but you can configure this acceptance test. So I inherit that one, and I set the fetcher to use the local host. So I run a local server, and I'm just starting the local server using the PHP internal server, but this is a web server. And I mean, now you're working with web servers and you know how they work. So I start one of those. and then I can run tests against this server. So we have this, and I run the tests against the local server. And when I run those, you can see that the server is getting parameters here. I also have other servers. I have other stages in my testing. So this was my localized testing environment and the things that I do. And if we were working together, you would, if you change the code, you would test yourself in your local environment. But I also have another test environment set up in the cloud, and it's actually a three-step process. So first I test locally, then I test on a staging server. So a staging server is just like the actual production server, but it's a safe environment. If something goes wrong there, it's not going to affect all my users. I don't have any users yet, but if I had, it would not affect those. And I set it up as a pipeline, and this is a continuous integration thing in GitLab, and this has a lot of out-commented things because I've experimented a lot. But pretty much what it does is that you have a server somewhere in the cloud, and this server acts as a GitLab runner. A GitLab runner gets a job done in GitLab. So when I commit and push my latest changes to the GitLab server, it automatically tests my code. So, and it does that in 3 different stages. You can see that we have a test stage and then a staging test, and then we do a release thing. So the first thing is that it does the exact same thing that I did locally. So my files are pushed into this Git push, and GitLab reacts on that and starts a process on the runner. And the runner uses a container. It's sort of a virtual machine, but a container does not contain everything that is in a virtual machine. It's just a virtual OS, so to speak. And this machine is a Docker image, and a Docker is a container management system. It contains everything that I need to run PHP code, and that is quite nice. So up here in this continuous integration YAML file, I just say that, oh, I want to have this version of it. And I've not constructed that image myself. I'm just using it from the Docker thing. And if you don't know about Docker, I think that you should test Docker out during the weekend. It's available for Mac, it's available for Windows, for Linux. So try that out. Try some Docker tutorial and learn about Docker. You're gonna learn a lot. And it creates that sort of virtual machine. It's called a container, and then it's running that exact same command. So it's running my PHP unit test on that. And if these tests succeed, now they didn't because I produced new stuff. If these tests succeed, then we go to the next step, to the staging server. And you can see that I have a bit more code here. And this code is just bash code. So it's stuff that is happening on the PHP latest Docker machine container. So first I remove old stuff from my runtime environment. So I just remove files. Then I copy the latest version of my project into that server, into a specific place into the server. And then I copy the settings also into that server because I need settings, you know, database settings and stuff like that. And then I run the staging tests. And this is just like the localized acceptance test. It's the staging tests are just tests that run against it. So you can see that the staging test is actually just using my staging server's IP address here and runs the same tests again. And these was the actual calls to the server. So when I've deployed my application to the staging server, then I run the test against the staging server. And if that succeeds, then I know that my application works in the run in the deployment release environment. So now I know that it works. Now I can make this available, or the new functionality or the bug fixes available to the entire world, so to speak. And I do the release, and that was the last part of this, the staging. And I actually run this on another runner machine, so it's another virtual machine somewhere in the cloud. And I do the exact same thing. I copy files, copy settings, and then actually I run the acceptance test for the release. Because if this fails, then I want to be really, really quick and go back and put the old version of the code. It's not in here because I've not come so far in my learning about the cloud development. Actually, I'm learning more about this now, and I've learned that you're supposed to like create your own Docker images and stuff like that. But I find this quite neat, and I just want to show this on how it looks like on GitLab also when you run your job. So some time ago, okay, let's start here. So I changed my code, and even if I didn't, in this case, I changed my code and I didn't really test it locally. So in this case, I committed and I pushed my code to GitLab, and then it ran the automated unit tests. And you can see that these tests failed. And we can actually go in, and I think we should be able to go in. Yeah, we should be able to go in here and watch what happened. So you can see that test poll, no video, did not work. And so I can sort of debug in this cloud machine also. Let's go back, because I think the other work is, yeah. And then I did a new commit, did some changes, and then I did push them again. And this case, the unit tests succeeded, so it went to the next, to the staging part. So it was copying file to the staging server, it was running the acceptance test, and you can see that the acceptance test failed. And in this case, since the acceptance test failed, it did not do the release. So we never changed anything for our customers. And finally, I did a commit and a push, and the test passed, and then the staging passed, and then the release passed. And if I understand things correctly now, then if I do git status, you can see that I've changed a couple of files, and it has to do with this Slack thing that I've not yet done. So let's add these files even if I'm not done. You should not really push to the master branch of your Git repository if you're not passing your test. But let's do it for your sake, right? So Slack things are not done, so that I have some traceability, and then git push origin master, and that means push to the Git repository, in this case GitLab, which on the master branch of that. So didn't that work? Git commit. No idea if that worked. So let's see if we get a new, oh. Things are not the same. Committer. The current branch has no upstream branch. So it should have pushed, right? $5 days ago. It doesn't seem that it pushed. Okay, now I realized what happened. So I was on another branch. So I created another branch in Slack, and that was called Slack. So I could not push to master since I was not on the master branch. So now I pushed to origin Slack instead. And I should now be able to switch branches, git check out master, git pull Slack, no, origin Slack. I think this is the way that you do it. Git commit. Oh, so let's run the tests here for. Yeah, I mean it's branded tests, and some of those failed. We already knew about that. And then git commit merged the Slack branch. Git push origin master. I think this is the way that you do it. Okay, so now I've merged the branches, and I hope that we should see now in our pipeline that, oh yeah, so now the tests are running. And we can step into that. You can see that actually the test failed, and they should, and thus the staging and the release was skipped. We can investigate what happened. We can see that the same tests failed that did locally. Yeah, I mean that is pretty cool, I think. And when if I was not in the middle of my development of this project and didn't have tests failing and stuff like that, then it would proceed to the staging and test running the acceptance test into the staging environment, and then if those succeeded, it would push to the final environment. And I can actually delay so that I can set that I don't want you to push to the production environment where our users are. I want you to stop where in the staging environment, even if the acceptance test succeeded, and then you can run against the staging test. You can do your own manual testing, and I think this is pretty good. You can also do stuff like and then you manually say that, okay, now we're satisfied that the staging environment is okay, now we can push to the production environment. You can also have things like you let half of the users get the new version, or a third of the users get the new version, so that if something breaks, it's sort of using your users as a beta testing and crowd. And if something breaks and does not work, then you roll back. And I know that Spotify is using the A/B testing methodology a lot. So they're releasing stuff to just a part of their users, and they see perhaps their retention rate and stuff like that. So I just want to share this with you in a short video. So see you around.